Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. You're here with Dennis and Greg. Our guests today are Peter Hurd-Watler and Chase Miller from Impact Applications. They're a full-service grant management company in Canada. And we're going to cover a few things. One, they're one of those rare companies that has become very successful in less than 2 years of opening their business. So great tips and tricks and insight to learn there through their journey. And two, we're going to learn that they're actually building a company to fit the lifestyle they want to live, and they'll share that in our podcast. And the third thing is they're going to teach us or talk us through some important tips about applying for grants, what grants to get, how to get them, success rates, what to look for in hiring a grant writer, those kind of things.
I'm Dennis.
And I'm Greg.
And this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast,
where we provide the tools for more profit and less stress in your business now so you can turn into a valuable asset later. Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. I'm Greg Forzani with Dennis Taekema as usual. And our guests today are Peter Hurd-Watler and Chase Miller from Impact Applications. Peter and Chase, I'll let you guys introduce yourself and quickly kind of what your business is about, what you do, where you're located, and then we'll get a conversation going.
Sure, thanks, Greg. So I'm Peter Hurd-Watler. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Impact Applications, and we provide full-service grant management.
My name's Chase Miller. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Impact Applications, heading up more of the sales and marketing, client success side of the business. And born and raised Calgary. We operate out of Calgary, Alberta. I'd say a majority of our clients are here locally in Calgary and across Alberta. And yeah, that's us. We provide full service grant management for businesses that don't have the time, don't know what's out there, and are likely eligible for a lot of money and they're just missing out on it.
Cool. Is this your first business or have you had previous businesses?
I can mention that. We've each had our own previous business. So kind of a bit of a background story is I had a tech company that I was able to secure over $300,000 in funding for. Because as a business owner, you need to get that funding, but it really distracted me from the core business, writing all these grants, and that's why I co-founded Impact Applications with Chase, and that kind of ties into how we started.
Cool.
Yeah,
Chase,
I
how
also
about
have
you?
my own business. I started up a web design business as I was going to university. I just really, you see all these people online doing all these online businesses, making, so you call it millions of dollars. So
Right.
I was like, I gotta figure that out. So I tried drop shipping. I sold one product. I was over the moon. Made one $30 sale. And then, but through that process, I got really interested in websites and building websites. So that's kind of the transition there. And then from grants, I had a tech client that was interested in, they're eligible for a ton of grants. They just didn't have the time to go get it. So the owner of the business there said, you want to try this out, see if you can get us some funding. And I had no clue what to do. So that's why I called Peter up and I said, hey, I got this opportunity. You seem to know how to do grants. I don't have a clue, but I have, some clients interested. Let's maybe see what we can do there. So that's kind of how the whole story transitions to Impact.
So did you guys know each other before then?
Yeah, we went to junior high and high school together.
So like when you had the opportunity, it was like, I know exactly who to call. It wasn't some random Kijiji search or something like that.
Yeah, because we had actually already been we had a mutual friend that was really good friends with both of us, and he knew we were doing our own businesses at the time, and he connected us. He's like, you guys are both kind of entrepreneurs. You should talk and just throw ideas around. And then, it was like maybe a year after that when we reconnected that Impact kicked off.
Yeah, like I had a small side hustle helping students get grants, and Chase was my first customer, but I'm glad we went in together because we've realized
Nice.
business owners have a lot more money than students.
And how long ago did you guys start Impact?
April 2023.
Wow, so we're literally just over 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, a big part of why we thought it'd be beneficial to our listeners to invite you guys is from our experience, and any listener or any of us can go study this or research it, but over 80% of businesses fail at business, meaning they close or go bankrupt. And the ones that don't fail, if they're going to succeed, a kind of a loose but good benchmark is if they can hit a break-even month around month 24 in business. And then after month 24, start to maybe make some profit. And Dennis and I define profit as after a fair market wage. And what we've noticed with you guys is you've been able to do that in, quite frankly, far less than 2 years. So we thought you'd be a great guest to share some insights to your journey. Like, what are a few things you would attribute being able to do that in less than 2 years? And for the listener, what notes can they pick up on to say, hey, there's a great idea, I should look at doing that?
Yeah, I'll kick things off and then I'll pass it to Peter. But full disclaimer, We made $900 in our first 6 months.
Okay,
We
that's good.
nothing to brag about in the first 6 months.
Right.
But it was a slow start for us, a really slow start. But I think, well, one, having a frugal business partner helps keep expenses low. So thank you, Peter, for that, because I'm a bit of a spender. So Peter balances us out. Yeah, I think the big thing for us was staying really lean. And then Peter, you probably have a bunch of things to tack on there, but just keeping expenses really low when you're starting out, and then figuring out where you should be allocating funding, or what's the most important things to allocate funding to as you start to grow.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, what's helped there's a lot of different things that's helped us. Number one is we don't have rent. Like we're all virtual, and a lot of cities have co-working spaces or even sponsored incubators. So you should take advantage of those. Like just trying to really minimize your recurring monthly expenses. If you can keep things low, then you can last in business longer and achieve profitability faster. Just using whatever free softwares you can, and use them as much as possible before switching to the paid plan really helps. Yeah, just things like that. Obviously, grants really help, that we'll talk about later, but those can really add to the profitability
Yeah.
as well.
Let's go back to software a second, because actually I do notice working with you guys, you probably use softwares for different areas of your business more than most businesses, and for sure more than most new businesses. So maybe expand a little bit on that. Like, what are some areas the company, like, because you guys are using software all over the place. I see it everywhere with you.
Yeah,
Sure,
I can.
go ahead,
I
Chase.
can
Yeah.
touch on that. Yeah, so I've always been a big believer in software, and I'm kind of a techie guy, so I like trying the new things out there. So we have full on onboarding portal where it's super nice. We can send clients, one link, it sends them our agreement, and then it takes them through the entire onboarding process for us. So we don't need to handhold them and just go back and forth and lose things over email. So that's been super helpful. We have Monday.com that we use for all of our project management for all of our clients. Also, something that's been really helpful is we track all of our internal management, so our action items. So every week we all have our list of action items in there. You can say, the status of working on it, waiting, it's done. We go through all those every day or every twice a week, so we can see where everyone on the team is at. We track all the grants for clients, so that provides a grant dashboard for all of our clients that they get sent every Tuesday. It's all automated. So these are things that also just like save you a lot of time within
Yeah.
business, which, eventually can lead to profitability because you can focus your time on more valuable things. And then we use Google
Sorry,
Drive for a long time.
before you go to the next one, let me extend on what you just said. Dennis and I work with a lot of businesses, and when they start, we find that often there's a lot of inefficiencies or a lot of mistakes. They drop the ball with a customer, then the customer quits, or they drop the ball with a staff member, and the staff, you can only drop the ball with staff so many times, then they want to quit, or drop the ball with vendors, or so there may even be more important than just even let light on with regards to some kind of project management software to help with efficiencies, but less mistakes, which causes a lot of
Mhm.
stress. Costs a lot of money. Mistakes cost money, right? Because then you got to go back and fix that mistake, or do that task again, or put two people on the task instead of one because there was a mistake or someone did it wrong. Or so yeah, that's a biggie. And when you guys picked Monday.com, did you do your research on different platforms?
We did. I had already had some experience with Monday, so I was a big advocator for it. So I think that's kind of the main thing there. I had a little bit of experience. The thing with these softwares though is they can take time to learn. These
Right.
big software companies, as they grow, they implement so many new features all the time, and it can be overwhelming. And it was overwhelming for us too. We still don't probably use the software to its fullest ability. We're getting more and more into that every day, but then again, you onboard a new employee and they're just lost, right? So
Yeah.
it's you want to keep things as simple as you can without making them any more simple than that, really.
Love it. Sorry, and you were gonna talk about another software after that before I interrupted, but I wanted to kind of circle back on that.
Yeah, Peter, do you want to chat? Is there any other things you wanted to mention there?
We use accounting software, and one thing we utilized is, like, there's a Microsoft Founders Club that a lot of new businesses owners can get, and you get a lot of free credits, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in free credits. So like, for instance, with Stripe, our first 50,000 in revenue, we didn't have to pay any fees on that, like the 3% or 4% usual fees. So that really helped us.
Back up a sec. Can you dumb that down for people who have no clue what you just said? Like, I know it sounds simple, but what is a Microsoft Founders Club?
The Microsoft Founders Club, it's like a free kind of thing for new business owners. I think you just need a LinkedIn account and a business. It's just something Microsoft offers for free, and you get a bunch of different free softwares or credits in one. Amazon does something similar with like their AWS credits if you're more of a like if you're developing software and stuff. So yeah, there's like different programs like that for free, and it really helps new business owners.
That's awesome because just on
I
the
literally
credit
had
card
no
processing,
idea
yeah, I never heard of that.
any of that stuff even existed. Like, let alone the
On
Stripe thing, your first 50,000. Are you kidding me? Like, I think we've been doing
That's-
this for a while now. I wish I would have learned about the Microsoft
Yeah.
Founders Club a whole lot sooner.
that just the credit card processing fees. If you do the quick math on 50 grand at say 3%, that's $1,500.
Well, further
That's
to
up
that,
in a hurry for a new company.
further to that credit card transaction stuff, we were using Stripe, and then as soon as we burned through the 50,000 credits, we actually left. Sorry, Stripe, but Greg, you had a better solution for us, so we were able to find cheaper processing, which that in itself is a huge saver for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, for sure.
We pay about 2%, and like yeah, softwares they're really good and saves you time, saves you money. It's just trying to weigh out the pros and cons, like how much time is it going to take for us to switch software providers versus how
Right.
much does it actually save us. That's one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think you'd hit it quickly on, and I think a lot of companies do this, so we can hit on it quickly, but you guys quickly hit on you use Google Drive as well. So give us a quick benefit of what that is. And whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox for the listener, it's going to be the same result, but what's been the benefit there for those who don't use it?
Yeah, sure. So the nice thing with Google Drive is we used it for months for free. It provides a ton of value for free, and you can really set everything up. Peter's really good with organizing things. I could tell he had experience in a previous business because just the way his Google Drive looked for when we set up Impact compared to my web design Google Drive, it was night and day. So you can get a lot of value out of Google for free for a long time, and then eventually you'll have to upgrade, but it's really pretty inexpensive. So I highly recommend people trying that first and seeing if it can do the trick for you because it likely can.
There's some merit to that because I know you can almost sort of tell how efficient someone's business is by just looking at their Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever their file folder layout. There's many that it's just like one file folder with like 1,000 files in it in some random order.
Yeah, walk me through this for a second. We have talked about softwares, and by the way, I don't believe you guys are a sponsor for any of the sponsors you're talking about. So anybody listening in, they're not getting a kickback for talking about these. So when you guys went through your software selection process, like you're talking to people who might be at different stages in business and development and everything else. And I know for myself, I think Greg and you and I have been through like 4 or 5 different key softwares over time too.
Yeah.
How do you guys go about your research to nail down what makes the most sense for you? Like, how would someone even go about that process? Because I get overwhelmed on Facebook ads all the time of buy these 16 different things. Or even AppSumo, which again, I don't get paid to plug, but AppSumo's got all kinds of brand new softwares that I've taken advantage of over time. How do you guys narrow down what makes sense and what doesn't make sense?
I think the first thing is if it isn't broken, like don't fix it. So don't just add softwares for adding it. Try to keep your stack as small as it needs to be. And then from there, like every business needs file management, so you'd have to pick one of those. Every business needs processing. Figure out what your business needs and then research the software. ChatGPT is a great tool. You can get it to create a comparison table on price, features, security, things like that. And then like we evaluate it mostly based on price, but also based on like ease of use. Are we going to actually use this? And then how much is the switching cost or implementation cost?
So I
Good
guess
advice.
what we're looking at here is the software that you're implementing actually saves you a ton of overhead because you don't have to hire the people to do the work the software takes care of.
Yeah, essentially saves you a lot of time. Like a lot of softwares now would replace, basic admin jobs that existed 20, 30 years ago.
I think here's another advantage of software that you guys do a good job of taking advantage of is the two of you like to travel a little bit, right?
Yeah, just a
Peter,
little bit.
a little bit more than me, but yes.
Yeah, over 90
He's not even in
countries.
Calgary
There,
now.
I mean, we're doing like often whenever we go to do our sessions, it's like, okay, Peter's on this part of the world, and Chase is over in this part of the world. So, but these softwares are allowing you guys to work virtually, run a business, and a very successful business 2 years in, which we'll talk more about that in a minute. But do it from anywhere in the world. Like,
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is with these video systems now, like Google Meets, we use for free for the first year and a half of the business. You can set up these calls from anywhere. It's super nice. Yeah, everything's in the cloud. Everything we do is in the cloud. We don't keep anything locally on our computers. So Peter, harps on me. Even before this meeting, I had a bunch of things I wanted to talk about in this call that I had on my Apple Notes. I thought at least, and they weren't there, and I couldn't find them. And then Peter's like, make sure put everything in the Google Drive because then it doesn't get lost. So just keeping everything in the cloud. Everyone from the team can access it from wherever, just need a Wi-Fi connection. It just keeps things a lot simpler.
yeah, love it. No, it's great. I think for those who kind of say, hey, but my business is different, you don't understand, they got to step back and figure out a way to rewire the business to give themselves the opportunity to travel and work remotely if that's important to them and something they want to do. And you guys have done an awesome job of that. So I guess as a final comment on that, and I know Dennis has a question, but in the final comment of that, what advice would you give to business owners who are like, I sure wish I could travel more or go work from my cabin or I don't know, whatever it is, and they just don't feel like they can do it? Because you guys do a really good job of this. What would you say to those business owners?
Yeah, I would say like take a step back and look at all your processes and systems and see what you can automate there, see what you can move to the cloud, see if there's softwares out there, or maybe there's a specific team member you need to hire that can allow you the freedom to be a little bit more mobile and not need to be as present where most of your customers reside.
Love it. Great advice. Dennis, I know you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to rewind a little bit because what you guys have accomplished in 2 years is really kind of incredible without getting into any specific numbers. You're hitting a lot of what people want, which is I get a lifestyle that I want to have. I'm doing it in a very short period of time. I didn't start off very well. I started off with a very little money when I first started doing this, and I've grown it into something. What are some of the outside of softwares, which we've talked about for efficiencies? What are some of the biggest like things that you learned along the way that you wish everybody kind of knew in the beginning? Because even the fact that you're on a program like ours, most people never reach out for help until they're already too far into the ditch to really get themselves back out. And you guys decided to enter into something like this before the ditch was even an issue. So what
Yeah.
have you learned along the path that you think everybody should know before they get too far into the weeds and can't get back?
Yeah, like getting help early. Like if talk to people who have what you want. If you know someone in your industry, get their tips, ask about their mistakes. Like we've reached out to other grant writing companies and gotten their advice, and it's leading to some partnerships as well, just getting help from the start so you can, you start right away. Like there's that Confucius quote, there's three ways by which we learn wisdom. First, by experience, which is bitterest, second, by observation, which is easiest, and then third, by reflection, which is noblest. So learn from others people's mistakes so you don't have to. We're also always learning, always reading books. It's a big part of our culture to read books. Like one tip that we've come up with that every business should implement is 5 minutes first contact. So if you're on the team and something comes up like a client message, unless it's explicitly related to like a project that only you are working on it, just get it done. If it's less than 5 minutes, just get it done right away, even if it's not directly for you. And that's helped. There's a lot of little tips like that.
Yeah, and just
Very
to
cool.
to touch on Peter's point there, I would say yeah, we're just lifelong learners, really. We're always trying to learn. We know we don't have all the answers, so meeting with someone like, Dennis or Greg, it shortcuts that period of time. We end up doing less guesswork. Especially you can do something wrong for 3 years. You just don't even know it. So
Right.
yeah, like Peter said, like meeting with these our competitors, that's another thing. Don't think about competitors as don't be scared of competition. What I've done recently is I've been able to go for coffees and lunches with other people in the space, and the amount of insights that they've been able to give us just for free, just being nice people, is incredible, and it kind of expedites the learning curve. So yeah, I would say, touching on Peter's point, like talk to those who have achieved what you want to achieve.
So I can tell you by looking back, there are some things in my own business I've done where like now I want to go back and kick my own ass and do things differently. What would you say have been some of your biggest mistakes that you've made in this process, and what did you learn from them?
Good one. That's a good one.
I can think of two. Number one is just making sure every transaction's profitable. We might get into that later, but just making sure everything's profitable, which you guys really helped us with, like giving us the tools to evaluate what's profitable. So if we could have like priced differently or whatever certain services, then we could have made that profitable earlier. And we're still doing that today. We might offer another service, but now we know the tools to track our time. We're like, oh, this is not profitable. Let's not offer this again. So making sure you're hitting your gross margin and profit on every transaction, every product. I mean, you could have a loss leader like Costco or something if you're a big one, but for us, we make sure we're profitable on every transaction. And then number two is just like slow to hire, quick to fire. So just really hire people slowly. Really
Good
important to
advice.
have your onboarding in place, like for your team. We use Motion .ios for onboarding, but just having that in place, like it's you're always working ahead, but if we could have really established our onboarding earlier before we expanded the team, that would have helped. But it's also good to hire someone new and then they can ask questions about your onboarding. You're like, oh, I didn't think of that. So then you revise your onboarding process. You're always learning, and you can make that process simpler for the next hire. But yeah, just always be teachable. That's one of our values. Company values is being teachable.
So
Love it.
to flip back just for a second, it sounds to me like the lesson for you guys was in one way, it was to stop chasing the revenue and start looking at actual money making activities, not just dollars and sales.
And it's kind of starting to bite us in the butt a little bit, because we were saying yes to a bigger group of customers, a broader group, and now we're trying to niche down more. So we kind of have these clients that aren't really a good fit anymore. We kind of thought they were, and this kind of touches on one I think of our biggest mistakes was, maybe for me, was not thinking quite big enough off the start, because you kind of think like you just want to say yes to everyone. You want to grow the business. You want to feel like there's traction there. So it might not be a great customer, but you just want to grow. And you think it is growth, and it can be growth, but it's maybe not the right growth. So, for us, we're niching
Like
down
it's a
now.
small step in the wrong direction versus a big step in the right direction, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Both
So
grow, just
now
not
we know.
necessarily what you want.
Yeah, and now we know where to focus our energy, and we're getting a lot more clarity, and it's really exciting to me to know we know where we need to go, we know where we need to spend all of our time, and we can cut out a lot of the noise.
Yeah, I think that's a hard for a lot of people. I know especially in the business world, when money gets tight, everybody thinks the answer is more sales. Like you actually see lots of videos for that, right? Like sales cures all wounds. Go sell more, go sell more, go sell more. What I hear you saying is that yes, selling more is great, but not if I'm planting in the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Like there's just certain things we've realized now where it's we can help, but we can't really move the needle for certain industries. So, we've built some referral networks where we can send them that it might be a better fit for them, because we don't want to leave any business out to fend for themselves. We want to at least point them in the right direction, or help any way we can. But we realize, where our strengths are, and where we really need to just kind of be doubling down on for the next while.
So in that context, is it fair to say that your process of looking at what you've been doing on the number side of things has removed a lot of the emotional knee-jerk reaction decisions and let you put more into actual thoughtful process decisions about who you want to work with?
Yeah, for sure. And I think Peter, he's really good at that, of like analyzing the numbers of, this isn't worth our while anymore. We need to focus more on this. Like, look at the numbers here. We have it all mapped out. We know the time it took, the effort it took. And it's really, it honestly is black and white at the end of the day if you're tracking your numbers.
That's huge.
So yeah, two things we've talked about. Let's kind of expand a little further on one, what you were just talking about. So for the listener, maybe let's expand a bit on Peter. Chase just said you're really good with the numbers, and really getting into what truly is an attached cost to that service or job. Like, what advice would you give to companies where they're probably missing a bunch of things that are actually attached to the cost of that job, and they're just missing it. They're not thinking about it. So I know you're good at diving in the numbers and wanting to track that stuff. Expand on that a bit.
Yeah, like the big thing, like you mentioned, fair market wage for owners. Like you really gotta say, like, include your own wage, minimum 60,000 a year, I would say, for any founder, and you're gonna up that every year. But count your own time as part of the cost. Otherwise,
Yeah.
what you think is profit is just your salary. And then to add to that, if
Right.
you're a service-based business, track your time, track those COGS hours, making sure that every transaction is profitable. And further to that, just update your bookkeeping monthly. Like a lot of business owners, they might update it once a year at best, and then you're just running blind for the whole year. Like imagine you wouldn't want to go fly on a plane where the pilot checks his numbers at the beginning and he checks it at the end, but those 12 hours
Right.
in between, he doesn't look at the gauges, especially the fuel tank. So you got to
Which
get the
which
monthly
might lead
bookkeeping.
to not even being able to check the numbers at the end because it's a crash, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
week you got to know your numbers. We're always tracking that. And we also assign a number one number for each team member has a number one number. It's like, okay, your job is to increase this number.
Nice. And then continuing that last conversation, what would you say to a business that says, yeah, but Peter, Chase, my business and situation are different. Pricing's the most important thing to my customer. I got to be the cheapest.
Yeah, that's it's the worst way to look at it. You got to differentiate your services. For us, luckily we landed on a really good offer off the get-go, which I was frankly really scared to sell because I thought it was maybe a bit high. Peter was like, "No, like trust me, it's good." And the more and more comfortable I got, what actually ended up being a really good offer. Businesses seem to love it, and that's creating the a Grand Slam offer. Alex Hormozy touches on it. You really can't compete on price. You need to compete on your service. For us, we've created a service which is a bit different than most companies. It's a true full service, so we really take care of 90 to 95% of the process, which customers really seem to like. We have a guarantee in place, which they seem to love. We're really confident in it, and also like to touch on selling. Getting really good at what you do has helped me a ton to sell and communicate the offer to customers. So luckily, our team, we've had a ton of success with grants, and it's just helped me be way more confident in the sales process. But also, like on that, if you have a really good offer, you don't even need to be that good at sales because the offer is going to do a majority of the work.
And in that offer, I'm assuming you mean also like be able to, whether you articulate it verbally or articulate it visually in some kind of like website or offer sheet or whatever, but communicate things in that offer, right? That people get. Here's my benefit. Here's a purpose you're trying to solve for me. Those kind of things, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a deck that we go through on video calls. Take them through it. It's way easier for us at least. Like I've noticed, phone calls are hard to help people because they can't visualize it. But doing things over video or maybe in person as well, where you can show them something, that's really been beneficial for us.
Love it. Love it.
So the process is like I think that's where a lot of people get hooked up on price, right? They don't know what they're actually offering or selling, and they're actually not. If, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I think when you dive into the numbers and you actually realize what something costs you to bring to market, you start to realize you can't sell on price because it doesn't work for you. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but I've had this where I might try to sell on price, but it doesn't matter how low the price is, it's always too much money for somebody.
Hmm.
No
Yeah.
matter how low you go, some people are just never happy. So what you said is you found a better value proposition, a better offer. And I think one of the things you said in there that I really want to dive a bit more into is the concept of a guarantee. This idea that I'm getting you to buy something, but I've got your back. How does your guys' guarantee generally work for your clients?
So yeah, we have a 2x money back guarantee on our services. So we guarantee that any dollar spent with us, we're going to bring in 2x return on that. So off the get-go, it builds trust. It helps clients or surprise prospects. It helps us get that initial yes from them that they're going to give us a go. They're going to see how it goes, and they're still a bit hesitant, but most of the companies stay with us for at least a year, maybe 2 years, and counting. So they seem to really enjoy the guarantee. It makes their business more profitable at the end of the day. And then to touch on your point about getting those no's, even if the price is $5 or however low you can go, that's another thing where you need to make sure you're selling to the right crowd because even with a Grand Slam offer, you need to make sure you're selling to the right people. Otherwise, it's still going to
Yeah.
be a waste of time if someone doesn't see the value in it.
I think that's one of the things when people think guarantees, they don't stop to consider is the fact that I think, and maybe you'll vouch for this for your end, but on our end, the guarantee actually helps me filter out who I actually want to work with. Because if I know I have to enforce
Oh
my
yeah.
guarantee, I don't want them as a client. So
Yeah,
I put my
totally.
guarantee forward knowing I'm probably never going to have to enforce it because this person that I'm working with is the ideal fit anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like that's you hit the nail on the hammer on the nail, whatever that saying is. But yeah, it's super funny because every time I close a new customer, Peter's like, did you offer him the 2x guarantee?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, so he's always checking me to make sure we're selling to the right customers, and we've gotten better and better at that over time.
So it's a great filtering thing, right? It keeps you accountable to making sure you're not bringing on the wrong client because that can cost you a lot of money if you
Yeah,
just chase the
and
revenue.
time and it yeah, you're gonna move the needle more for companies that are a really good fit. It's gonna be easier to work with them. They're gonna be happier overall. They're gonna vouch for you, send you referrals probably. So it's just a trickle down effect of good things.
Yeah, and that's
Love
I
it.
that's
love it.
one thing
Thanks,
that
man.
helped us achieve profitability within the first, I think, 16 months was focusing on quality rather than quantity. So higher quality
Mm.
clients and higher quality employees, just keeping the team tight and making sure all those employees are doing a great job and they're fully profitable before you bring on the next one. Don't expand too quickly.
Love it. Yeah, just to reiterate that, so important. Focus on growing profitably. A couple more things we want to cover. We want to get into the grants you guys offer and the benefit to businesses. But before we do that, I know one thing you guys are very focused on, and I personally believe it's one of the big reasons why you've been so successful so quickly in your business. But you're focused on that end goal, which that end goal might be changing for you, right? That end goal can change. But you guys are always talking about and very focused on creating a business worth a certain value, right? And you don't have to share that value number, but like you got your eye on the prize all the time. I think a lot of business owners get into business and they don't think about that. They don't think about, hey, I want to build this asset that one day is going to be worth something. I can sell it and retire on it. They kind of go like, oh, I love doing this thing. I want to do it every day and serve customers and I want to be my own boss. And then they get into it and they just get slammed and overwhelmed and they lose sight of the fact that it's also meant, to build this asset you can retire on or do something else with, right? You cash in on this asset and use that money to do something else in life. And again, that's something you guys are so laser focused on. What can you tell other business owners that don't have that mindset yet to help them get that mindset?
Yeah, I can touch on that. Like even if you don't want to sell your business, you should still act as though that you want to, because it helps make sure your business is profitable, that the operations are running, and it gives you that outside perspective. Like if you're in the business and you think, okay, if a buyer was looking at this, what would they want to see? And that helps you
Nice.
become more profitable, get your systems in sight, and it just helps fine tune the operation nonetheless. Whether you want to sell or not, just act as though you plan on creating this asset, and that'll just help the whole business, regardless if you sell or not.
That's good
Yeah.
advice.
And to touch on that, I give Peter a lot of credit for it because he is a big he thinks very bigly. Bigly, I don't know if that's a word, but he thinks very big.
Yeah.
Bigly is a great word, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the new one. There we go.
You can coin that.
There you go. Bigly. Like when we first met, he already had a grand vision in place, and for me, coming from my web design business, I never even knew I could sell my web design business. It's not probably worth anything right now, but I didn't even know that was a thing really. So he already had, this vision, this idea in his brain. So when we first started the business, we had this number in mind, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're never gonna do that. That's that'd be amazing, but I don't think that's possible." And we've doubled, we've at least our vision, we've doubled that number now as our new goal because we kind of realized what's actually possible, which is really cool. And it'd be amazing to get there, but we have that vision in mind. We have clarity on what our goal is, and we just kind of move everything in that direction. We know where we need to go. We know how we need to do it, and regardless of selling it or not, just having that vision in mind, it keeps everyone on the same track. And also, a nice quote that Greg said when we were first chatting is, you buy a house, you build a house, you live in it for a long time. Similar to building a business, are you just going to walk away from that house after 20 years and just give the keys to someone, or would you probably like to sell it? So.
Exactly. And
I'm
so many
guessing you
people
picked the
do
walk away.
it. But walk away bigly.
Big
Yes,
bigly, yeah.
bigly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But it's actually
Uh,
very interesting you bring that up only on the grounds, and this is for everybody listening. 2 years in and already thinking about an exit's a big deal. Like understanding that one day you're not going to want to play the game anymore and potentially get out, and that you guys are planning for that is a lot further than most people think. So I just want to commend you on the fact that you're actually thinking that way, because it's going to change all of your decisions you make on every transaction going forward. It's changing how you build the business, not reacting to a market, but actually planning for an exit is huge.
love it.
And it helps us decide what to do. Like, it's like a lot of businesses like, oh, I changed the logo 10 times this month. It's like, well, would the buyer really care about that? No. So just focus on what's actually going to move the needle forward, more profit.
No, but Peter, it's a really nice shade of blue. Let me show you this new Pantone of blue. It's this beautiful.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
You
I
get
don't want to
me
run past this
PTSD,
too
Greg.
quick. Chase said bigly, which is huge, but you made something. You just said something that I think if we don't dial back to it, too many people are going to buzz over. Which is on the decision you make is a future buyer going to want this? Thinking from that mentality of is a future buyer going to want this probably changes every decision you make. I know you made the jokes about the logo, but as you're going into making a system, building a process, that thought process is key to actually having a profitable exit. You're not thinking about you through the whole thing. It's what's the future buyer going to want, which is
Yeah.
probably
And what the
In
future
other words,
buyer wants
what's the
is
business
profit
owner
too.
want?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It helps you get more profitable.
Very good. So speaking of profit, there's no question, obviously. Well, maybe it's not obvious to everybody, but I would think obviously, if a business owner can apply for a grant and successfully get it, so that's key, obviously, successfully get the grant. That's going to open the doors for so many things. So let's get into that. Number one, why should a business owner share A, why should a business owner want to get a grant? B, what kind of grants can they get? How likely are they to get it? And then after that, we want to get into some questions around what should they look for around getting the grant is obviously key. So when you're getting a grant writing company to help you, what are the keys to look for? So sorry, that was a lot of questions all in one question, but
I can
follow
start with
that
what's a
streamline.
grant, and then Chase can talk about why you should want them. A lot of people don't even know what a grant is. So a grant is essentially the government's collecting tax dollars, and then the government has the carrot and the stick. So the stick is like taxes or fines, but the carrot are these grants. And a grant is essentially free money. I don't want to emphasize the way free. You still got to work for it, but it's money that the government gives you. It's non-dilutive. They don't take equity. It's not a debt. You don't need to repay it, and it subsidizes an expense. So we like to say it's like a gift card. The government's giving you a gift card or a discount
Good way to put it.
to pay for expenses. So that's what a grant is. It's non-dilutive money from the government to grow your business, whether that's grants to hire employees or travel or capital equipment, things like that. And Chase can talk about more why business owners should want them.
Yeah, like if you have things in mind or you're gonna do things anyways, you should probably see if there's grants out there that can subsidize some of the costs. For example, let's say a Calgary business is heading down to Arizona, Phoenix for a conference. There's grants in Alberta to help companies subsidize 50% of the costs of those conferences. So if you're doing the trip, you can save 50% of the cost just by applying to these grants. The government wants to help businesses grow, export, grow into new markets. It brings more revenues back into Canada. So, they're not just doing it to be nice. They have a bit of a plan in place. They want to see the benefits to Canada. If you hire students, you can save 50 to 70% of the cost there. The government wants to train up the new workforce coming in. So they want to help young people grow into new roles. If you're doing innovation, there's a huge push for innovation. If you're developing some new software, hardware, processes, systems, you can get a significant amount of funding to help that because the government, Canada wants to compete with the rest of the world. They want us to be builders of new technology, AI, all that good stuff. So they're going to help your business grow. They want to increase jobs, bring people, bring talent to Canada, all these good things.
You're saying business owners shouldn't feel guilty about applying for a grant.
Well, it's money to help your business grow, and the money is inevitably going to get cycled back into the economy. You get a grant to
Yeah.
hire someone as a salary, the money, it's just getting funneled back into the economy. So it's not really just going to waste or going up in the air. It's all
Right.
getting funneled back there. They know kind of what they're doing with these things. Yeah, absolutely. If you're eligible for grants, if you don't apply for it, someone else is going to get the money. I know not all business owners believe or agree with grants, but they're there to help your business. They're there to be used up. Other businesses are going to use them if you don't. So you might as well take advantage of them if you're spending the money anyways.
Well, and I love what you kind of hit on there is that's a cash injection from the government for a certain situation that they believe will help the company succeed. And then therefore the company grows. And the government needs successful companies to grow because the government needs those companies to make a profit and pay tax on that profit. What the government doesn't need is a whole bunch of businesses not doing well. That doesn't help the economy. I love it. You're hitting on the mindset of don't feel guilty about applying for it. Look for ones that can help you grow and be profitable, and then you contribute to the economy, and it's a win for everybody. That's a really good perspective.
Yeah, I just want to add on that. That's part of our mission is to help better direct our tax dollars. So, inclusive of all political beliefs, we can all agree the government should be spending our tax dollars in a far better way. And we believe that helping businesses get grants to create jobs and grow is a far
That's
better
cool.
use of our tax dollars.
I like that.
One last unconventional question on my end. What are the downsides to getting a grant?
That's a great question, Dennis. So there's a few downsides. Number one is the time. So you got to put in a lot of time into the application, meeting with the grant agencies, and it's not guaranteed you're going to get approved. So there's the cost of, in terms of time or employee hours that you got to pay them to apply for the grant. The second is with the grant, it's for a specific purpose, a specific expense. So you got to make sure you adhere to those criteria to make sure you're going to get reimbursed for those expenses. And then the third is disclosure. So these grant agencies, that they do want to see your financial statements, making sure you say who you are, you're spending the money on what you're supposed to. So you do have to disclose those financial statements. Sometimes you can even connect to your CRA account because it's another government agency. But I'd say the biggest downside is just the time you put in and you don't get approved, and now you're out that time and cost.
I could spend all the time in the world I want to researching grants, but it sounds like if I miss one or two key steps, all of that effort's gone, and I could be in a situation where I've overspent someplace I'm not getting a rebate for, and I'm kind of screwed. So you guys more or less walk people through that to avoid me having to have those pitfalls and not being in a situation where the grant came back to bite me in the ass versus actually being beneficial to growth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Like sometimes we'll have clients ask us, like, how much do I need to spend here to get this? So like they're constantly asking us, for the exact numbers, and that's what we're here for, to make sure. That's a big part of our service, is to make sure they're compliant and doing things the right way. Because once you get approved for the grant, it doesn't mean 70K just enters your bank account. You have to do reporting and do things the right way. Otherwise, you may not get all of that money, or maybe get none of it. So that's a huge part of our services, the claims and reporting post grant award.
Is there a possibility ever of them clawing the grant back after they grant access to it? So if I do the paperwork and everything else incorrectly, they give me the grant, then they go, hey, wait a minute, Dennis, we've discovered that you didn't use the grant in the way it was designed to do. We need you to pay all of that back. Does that happen?
We've never experienced that, but I'm sure it has happened before. But we make sure, we're doing things the right way so we don't have to deal with that. But I'm sure it's happened.
If someone tries to write a grant on their own, that could very well happen.
Yeah, if they don't, kind of follow the application that they've prepared, then for sure it can happen.
What would you say, not making any guarantees here from your company's perspective, but from your experience, if I'm a business and want to apply for a grant and I want to, save the money of hiring a company like yours to help me with it and do it on my own, what's the likelihood of me getting it compared to hiring a company like yours? Like, what's the success rate roughly?
I can touch on that first, then Peter can touch on it. But what I've experienced, especially in being really involved in sales, is I hop on calls, and customers or prospects, they don't have the time. It's the same thing every time. They don't have the time. They're focusing on growing the business, growing their revenues, growing their team, making sure the culture's good. They don't have the time to deal with grants, and I would lean more towards zero, because they're just not going to do it. Is what it comes down to. Is most of the time business owners, they'll start
Makes
the
sense.
process, or they'll submit something, and the grant agency will come back with questions, and they'll miss out on that. And with a lot of these grant agencies, they have a timeline. So they're like, please provide XYZ in 2 business days. It's a very quick period of time. It's pretty unrealistic. You can ask for extensions, but if you miss that period, then you're just going to have to restart. So like a lot of business owners that aren't working with maybe an agency like ours just aren't typically applying for grants in general.
Yeah, so just to add, like if you're doing it yourself, it's not necessarily zero, but you're not going to do it. Most likely not going to do it. And with us, we have over a 95% success rate.
Wow. And sorry, Peter, say that again. Did I just hear you say like you have like a 95% success rate? Did I hear
Yeah,
that right?
yeah. For every application we've submitted, it's been above a 95% success rate. That last 5%, more often than not, it's just the client not getting us the information in time. That's the main thing. But yeah, we have over a 95%.
Okay, so I'm going to dumb this down. So I'm a business owner. I got a choice here. I can attempt this path on my own and the reason I think Dennis and I want to hit on this a bit is, we're about more profit, less stress in your business. Getting a grant for your business adds more profit because it subsidizes an expense, but it also lowers stress because in many cases you can use that money to hire somebody to help, or maybe, don't quote me on this stuff. I'm spitballing here, but maybe get a software, maybe go on a convention to get a thing. Like, it's going to help somehow. So it's also going to lower stress. So I'm a business. I can take this path on my own. And as Chase said, most likely my success rate will be zero just from the fact that it's such a obstacle course to get through that most fail. Okay. Or I can choose your service. And from what you guys have tracked, there's about a 95% success rate. And then I think the other thing is, do you guys help that customer understand what grants are out there they can get? Because that in itself is probably near impossible to navigate. Like, where do I start? What do I, if I'm trying to do that on my own, what do I do?
Yeah, so that's really the first step of our entire process, and it touches back on to chatting with Dennis about the guarantee and finding the right customers. Is like we'll outline exactly what grants they're eligible for, and we'll need to know that before we sign them, because if we're offering them a guarantee, we kind of have to have a pretty good idea of a timeline and strategy with that client. So, and even if they're not a good fit for us, we offer free research. So we'll provide, we'll shoot them some good opportunities that they can look into if they want to take up the challenge on their own. But yeah, before even starting to write anything, we kind of try to map out a strategy and game plan of, these are the best opportunities. What do you think works best for your business? What are you guys ready to move forward on? And then once we have a really good plan in place, then we start moving forward with them.
So if I'm a business owner, what advice would you give me if I'm looking to, how do I choose a good grant writing company to work with? What should I be looking for? How do I
It
know the
depends.
experts from the not so experts?
Yeah, I
Because by the way,
guess
I want the 95% success rate, right? I don't want the grant writing company that gets me the 50% success rate.
look for what kind of service are you looking for? Are you looking for someone to just write the grant? Are you looking for someone to find the grants? Are you looking for someone to manage the process, doing the reporting? Are you looking for someone to do all of that? We're not necessarily for everyone because some companies have some in-house capabilities. But for us, we specialize when a company doesn't have, in-house capabilities, they want to completely outsource the process. That would be, a great time to use us. And I think also each kind of grant consulting agency, they probably have different expertise. There's a ton of grants out there, and we can't be experts in everything. So for us, we're experts in innovation, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, and the export and student grants. Those are kind of the main buckets that we tap into. But I know there's a lot of grant agencies out there that niche in specific industries that we don't. So I think just understanding your business, understanding who kind of specializes in what service level you're looking for, and I guess their experience and success overall.
Love it. And I know we got to wrap up soon here. You guys have accomplished in a short period of time. Our coaching company, Dennis and I, we measure client results like to the fractions, like to the pennies. And you guys since you've started, you've always been in the hunt for the awards, which is a big deal because our clients are high performers, right? And you guys are right there in the hunt on everything, which is awesome. And you continue to be. And I know you're fighting for that because you're competitive as hell and you want to win the award. What would you say to a business owner who's looking at, so the same question I just asked you about grants or grant writing company, what would you say to a business owner who's looking for a business coaching company to help them? What should they be looking for? What should drive their decision?
I'd just say if the business, like, see the results of the business coach, like who else have they helped? What's their success rate percentage? What are they actually going to be offering you in terms of one-on-one coaching? Is the coach that's advertising the coaching the one you're actually going to talk to, or is it just some outsourced person that's not the coach you're going to be talked to? And what kind of materials and other things do they provide? And the big thing is, have they taken someone else to success that you'd like to achieve?
Right.
To touch on the point we talked about earlier, have they done what you're looking to do? And, obviously, Greg, I mentioned your name to my dad and he knows you, right? He knows your family. So that helps. You have a lot of credibility in the space. And I would say for businesses, one thing that I've noticed that's really beneficial is the speed at which we can make decisions, because Peter and I, as 50-50 owners, a lot of people suggest not to set a business up like that because we can get in stalemates on decisions all the time. But if we have something that we both disagree on, you've been an outlet where we can send off an email, kind of, you explain your thought process there, and then we based on that, it helps us make a faster decision instead of dragging things out and out and out. So I think that's been super beneficial to us, understanding our numbers and just eliminating a lot of the guesswork early on.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so what geographic area do you help companies in? Like where you help companies get grants? What territory?
Alberta particularly, we do a little bit across Canada, but 90% of our clients are Alberta-based companies looking to grow, scale, innovate, reduce emissions, export, all that good stuff.
Meaning your clients have been mostly Alberta, but you can help anybody in Canada, or meaning you prefer to help Alberta?
We've just naturally serviced Alberta just because Peter and I are, Calgary and I've spent some time in Edmonton, so it's just naturally happened that way. We do have clients out in Ontario, and it's been successful there. I would say, yeah, mostly it's been Alberta, and we've had a lot of success here. It's great to have clients. I can just drive to them. They're 5-10 minutes away. I do a lot of in-person stuff, which is nice. So, but yeah, we're very open to helping companies across Canada. It's just happened to be mostly Alberta.
Okay, and how do they find you? What's the best place to go find you?
You can Google us, our website, impactapplications.ca. You can find Peter and I and our team on LinkedIn. We have a decent presence there, or you can email me or Peter. My email is chase@impactapplications.ca. Happy to hop on a free call, provide you some free grant research if anything. We're open to chatting with all different types of businesses and seeing how we can help them. But we do specialize in innovation and I'd say advanced manufacturing are kind of our two main spots right now.
Awesome, guys. Very much appreciated. I hope our listeners got some good tips. Again, just to recap, Peter and Chase have a business that, you're 28 months in, and your current performance is competes with companies that have been around 10 years that are performing very high. So if you continue on the trajectory you're on, you're going to do great things. And anybody listening to this should take some of that advice because it's good advice. Thanks again, guys. Much appreciated. Thanks for listening to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a comment or review if you're feeling generous. To learn more about us and what we do, check out our website. Until next time, take care.